Human psychology is far more powerful and mysterious than most people realize. One mind-blowing fact is that your brain constantly edits reality before you even become aware of it. What you see, hear, and feel is not a raw recording of the world. It is an interpretation created by your brain in milliseconds. For example, your brain fills in visual gaps, predicts movements, and even changes memories slightly every time you recall them. That means your memories are not perfect recordings of the past, but reconstructions influenced by your emotions, beliefs, and current mood. This is why two people can experience the same event but remember it completely differently. Your brain is not trying to lie to you, it is trying to make sense of the world quickly and efficiently, even if that means bending reality a little. Another astonishing psychological fact is that people form first impressions in less than 7 seconds, and sometimes in less than 1 second. Within moments of meeting someone, your brain scans facial expressions, tone of voice, posture, clothing, and even micro-expressions that flash for a fraction of a second. Based on these small cues, you automatically decide whether the person is trustworthy, confident, dominant, or friendly. The shocking part is that once a first impression is formed, it becomes very difficult to change. Even when new information contradicts that first judgment, your brain tends to protect its original conclusion. This is known as confirmation bias, and it explains why misunderstandings can last for years and why reputation is so powerful in social life. One of the most fascinating psychological truths is that loneliness can be as harmful to your health as smoking multiple cigarettes a day. Human beings are biologically wired for connection. When we feel isolated or rejected, the brain activates the same pain centers that respond to physical injury. Emotional pain is not just a metaphor, it is processed in a similar way to physical pain. Long-term loneliness increases stress hormones, weakens the immune system, and can even shorten lifespan. This shows that relationships are not just emotional luxuries. They are biological necessities. The need to belong is deeply rooted in our survival instincts from ancient times when being excluded from a group could mean death. Another mind-blowing fact is that your body language does not just reflect your emotions. It can actually change them. Research shows that simply standing upright, maintaining eye contact, and adopting open posture can increase feelings of confidence and reduce stress. On the other hand, slouching, looking down, and crossing your arms can reinforce feelings of insecurity or defensiveness. This means that you can hack your emotional state through physical movement. Your brain constantly reads signals from your body to decide how you feel. So sometimes, changing how you sit or stand can genuinely shift your internal mood and mindset. A powerful psychological phenomenon is known as the spotlight effect. Most people believe that others are constantly noticing their mistakes, flaws, or awkward moments. In reality, people are far more focused on themselves than on you. The brain naturally centers attention on personal concerns, which means your embarrassing moment that feels huge to you might not even register strongly in someone else's mind. Understanding the spotlight effect can reduce social anxiety because it reminds you that others are not analyzing you as intensely as you imagine. Everyone is too busy worrying about their own image. Another shocking fact about psychology is how strongly music influences your perception of reality. The type of music you listen to can change how you interpret neutral situations. Sad music can make memories feel more emotional, while energetic music can increase motivation and risk-taking behavior. Background music in movies manipulates how you judge characters and scenes. Without music, many scenes would feel completely different. This shows how easily the brain can be guided by emotional cues that operate below conscious awareness. Sound shapes experience more than we realize. One more fascinating truth is that people often value things more when they have worked hard to achieve them. This is known as the effort justification effect. When you struggle for something, your brain convinces you that the reward must be valuable, otherwise the effort would feel meaningless. This explains why people feel more attached to things they build themselves, like handmade projects, personal achievements, or relationships they fought to maintain. The brain protects you from feeling that your effort was wasted by increasing the perceived value of the outcome. In a way, your mind rewrites importance to protect your ego. Another incredible psychological fact is that silence can be extremely powerful in communication. When you stay silent during a conversation, especially after asking a question, the other person often feels compelled to fill the gap. Silence creates psychological pressure, and many people reveal more information simply to ease that discomfort. Skilled negotiators, interviewers, and even therapists use silence strategically. It forces the other person to think deeper and sometimes reveal truths they did not initially plan to share. Silence is not weakness, it is a psychological tool. A truly surprising fact is that your brain is more creative when it is slightly bored. When you are not constantly stimulated by phones, social media, or entertainment, your mind begins to wander. This mental wandering activates the brain's default mode network, which is linked to imagination, problem-solving, and creative insight. Some of the best ideas come when you are showering, walking, or lying in bed with nothing specific to do. Constant distraction kills this natural creativity. Boredom, in small amounts, is actually fuel for innovation. One of the most mind-blowing facts about psychology is that happiness often follows action, not the other way around. Many people believe they must feel motivated before they act. In reality, motivation often appears after you start doing something. The brain releases dopamine when you make progress, even small progress. That means taking one small step, cleaning your desk, going for a short walk, starting a task for 5 minutes, can create momentum and improve mood. Waiting to feel ready can trap you in inaction, but action itself generates the feeling you were waiting for. This flips the common belief upside down and shows that behavior often shapes emotion more than emotion shapes behavior. Another mind-blowing psychological fact is that your brain is addicted to uncertainty in a very specific way. When outcomes are unpredictable, your brain releases more dopamine than when rewards are guaranteed. This is the same mechanism behind gambling, social media scrolling, and even checking your phone for messages. If rewards were predictable every single time, they would actually feel less exciting. The uncertainty creates anticipation, and anticipation intensifies pleasure. This explains why people keep refreshing their feeds, replaying games, or waiting eagerly for text replies. Your brain loves the maybe more than the definitely. One fascinating psychological truth is that people unconsciously mirror each other when they feel connected. If you notice two close friends sitting in similar postures, speaking at similar speeds, or even using similar phrases, that is not coincidence. It is called the chameleon effect. When we like someone or want to build rapport, our brain subtly copies their gestures and tone. This mirroring increases trust and emotional bonding. Salespeople, leaders, and charismatic individuals often do this naturally. When someone mirrors you gently, your brain interprets it as familiarity and safety, making you feel more comfortable without even realizing why. Another powerful fact is that fear spreads faster than logic. The human brain is wired to prioritize threats because survival depended on it for thousands of years. When you hear alarming news, your amygdala, the emotional alarm system, activates immediately, often before the rational part of your brain has time to evaluate the facts. This is why rumors, panic, and negative news travel so quickly on social media. Fear grabs attention more strongly than calm reasoning. Understanding this can help you pause and question emotional reactions before accepting them as truth. One shocking psychological insight is that multitasking is largely an illusion. The brain does not truly focus on multiple complex tasks at once. Instead, it rapidly switches between tasks, and each switch drains mental energy. This constant switching reduces productivity and increases mistakes. What feels like efficiency is often just divided attention. Studies show that people who believe they are good at multitasking are often the least effective at it. Deep focus on a single task produces far better results and less mental fatigue. Your brain performs best when it can give one thing its full attention. Another incredible psychological phenomenon is the power of labeling. When you label yourself or someone else with a trait, behavior often begins to align with that label. If a child is consistently told they are smart, they may try harder to live up to that identity. If someone is labeled lazy, they may unconsciously behave in ways that confirm it. This is called the self-fulfilling prophecy. Words shape identity, and identity shapes behavior. Even labeling your own emotions, such as saying, "I feel anxious," instead of just feeling overwhelmed, can reduce emotional intensity because it activates the logical part of your brain. One more surprising fact is that people are more motivated by the fear of loss than by the promise of gain. Losing something feels psychologically more painful than gaining something of equal value feels pleasurable. This is known as loss aversion. For example, losing $100 feels worse than finding $100 feels good. Marketers and decision-makers often use this principle by highlighting what you might lose instead of what you might gain. It shows how deeply emotions influence rational decision-making, even when we believe we are thinking logically. Another mind-blowing psychological reality is that smiling, even when you do not feel happy, can slightly improve your mood. The brain interprets facial muscle movements as signals of emotional state. When you smile, your brain may release small amounts of feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. While this does not erase deep sadness, it can gently shift your emotional direction. Your body and mind are constantly communicating, and sometimes the body can lead the mind rather than the other way around. One fascinating psychological fact is that people often remember unfinished tasks better than completed ones. This is known as the Zeigarnik effect. When something is left incomplete, it creates mental tension that keeps it active in your memory. That is why cliffhangers in movies are so powerful and why you keep thinking about tasks you have not finished. Once a task is completed, the brain releases the tension and moves on. You can use this effect to increase productivity by simply starting a task. Even doing a small part of it makes your brain want to finish it. Another powerful insight is that gratitude can physically reshape your brain over time. Practicing gratitude regularly strengthens neural pathways associated with positive thinking and emotional regulation. When you consciously focus on what is going well instead of what is missing, your brain gradually becomes better at noticing positive aspects of life. This is not blind optimism. It is training your attention. The more you practice gratitude, the more natural it becomes, and over time it can significantly improve overall well-being and resilience. One of the most astonishing psychological facts is that your brain cannot clearly distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. When you visualize success, practice a skill mentally, or imagine a fearful scenario, many of the same neural circuits activate as if the event were actually happening. This is why athletes use visualization techniques to improve performance and why worrying about the future can cause real physical stress. Your imagination is not just fantasy. It is a powerful mental simulator. What you repeatedly imagine can influence how you feel, how you act, and ultimately how your life unfolds.